Day in the life of a woman with extremely high standards. I'm 32 years old and I'm on a mission to enjoy every possible moment of my life, and for me that means abstaining from men and children because, in my experience, these things tend to make life a lot harder for women. Don't worry, I know this is very unattractive to most men, and it probably means that none of them will ever want me because I'm too old and undesirable to fulfill my life's purpose of helping a man continue his bloodline and legacy of porn and video game addiction. I think this is supposed to send me into despair, but luckily it's been quite the opposite. In all my free time and free will, I decided to book a one-way business class flight to escape the Canadian winter, explore some new countries in Asia, and return to some of my favorites. I can't always afford to fly business class, but when I find a good deal, I think of all the money and time I'll save on going 50-50 with the man who does 10% of the emotional and physical labor and say, fuck it, I'm worth it. This was my first time flying Etihad Airways, a 20-hour flight from Toronto to Mumbai with a stopover in Abu Dhabi, and it cost around $3,200, but with points from my Amex Business Platinum card, I was able to get it for around $2,800, which was so worth it. The goal for this trip is to experience new cultures, delicious food, and meet and hopefully inspire other women to live their best single lives along the way.
You know, guys, these videos are so funny to me because you'll have like 32-year-old women trying to advertise to you about how happy they are because they have no man and they have no children. Me personally, I think that if you're a happy person, if you are truly content with your life, you probably don't need to be going around posting it on TikTok trying to convince everybody how good you have it. But what is going on, guys? It is Taylor the Fiend back again. And on today's episode, I have a few ridiculous TikTok clips to show you, which we are going to be covering here today. The first of which is going to be this one. We'll return to the woman in the intro later in today's episode. But the first video we're going to be covering is from this woman right here, who looks to be in her 30s, I believe, despite the egregious amount of makeup. And she's going to be giving us the 3 signs that a man is emotionally unavailable. Now, women have this problem, guys, where they will continually chase chads until they're like 30, and then they need dating advice like this, which gets them absolutely nowhere. I'm not going to even comment anymore. Let's just jump into the nonsense and take a listen. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments, and let's jump in.
3 signs you're dealing with somebody emotionally unavailable. And you can misconstrue this as chemistry. It's not. 1, they are always on your mind and you feel like you can't even get through your day without having to talk to them or thinking about them. That's because they're breadcrumbing you and not actually fulfilling your needs.
So this is the funny thing about women, guys, right? Is unfortunately for them, they respond so well to men who don't give a damn. Have you ever noticed that? Right? It's always the guys who don't care. It's always the guys who don't message back. It's always the guys who don't put in a lot of effort that women give all of their attention to. Now, usually these men, are quite attractive to these women, okay? But like it flies in the face of what women try and tell you to do, right? Be nice, always meet her needs, happy wife, happy life, all of these sorts of things. And yet, who are the women chasing? They're chasing the men that don't care about them. They're chasing the men that take like 37 hours to respond, and so on. The men who are emotionally unavailable, all right?
They are starving you from your emotional needs being met. And so they're on your mind all day because you can't even function without thinking about them because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what the next step is going to be, and you don't know what they're thinking. And the reason you talk to all of your friends and family about it is because you don't actually know what they're thinking, and so there's a confusion there, so you keep talking about it to try to make sense of their inconsistency.
This is what I'm talking about, man. These women, you know, they come across to me personally like addicts, okay? They're always looking for like the next dopamine hit, the next thing, the next dude that will keep them excited and on their toes, the man who's highly mysterious and she can't understand his intentions. You know, and then these are the same women that complain about lack of commitment from men, okay? Is a lot of them, unfortunately for women, guys, a lot of them are attracted to men who are incredibly inconsistent, who don't care, who aren't actually interested in giving them anything serious, and I'm supposed to feel empathy for them. It's insane.
You get the butterflies or your nervous system starts to flare every time you even see a text from them. That's because they're super inconsistent and you never know when you're going to hear from them. So when you do, you get that dopamine hit and it feeds you just enough to keep you going. Perhaps one of your caregivers was super inconsistent. So thus in your adult relationships, you are reliving that manifestation to hope that you can be chosen and you can be picked by this person. And it rewrites that narrative that you have written as a little kid. But unfortunately, what it actually does is it reaffirms those core beliefs that you're not good enough, you're not worthy because this person isn't picking you. So when they text you, it feels like the highest of highs because you just never know when it's going to come. And 3, you feel so drawn to them. And when you're with them, it's the highest of highs. That's because they're so busy that when they prioritize you or make you part of their life, you feel chosen.
Yeah, what a surprise, right? The guy who has other things going on in his life, who doesn't actually give a damn, who texts back, whenever he's free, these are the men who are most attractive to women. Okay, I don't know what this woman is. I'm assuming this is like some sort of a dating coach for women. I always just find it funny, guys, because trying to coach women, particularly with dating, must be one of the most, awful things, okay? Because women, unfortunately, guys, they just want to be lied to. Oh, the reason why the man doesn't want you is because you're too perfect and he's intimidated and all of these sorts of things, okay? This woman seems to be making sense, which concerns me because if she's making sense, it probably means that the women aren't listening. You know what I mean, guys? Like, you get on here and you say, hey, women are attracted to inconsistency and behavior from men, which demonstrates they don't care. And the women are probably going to look over that and just keep doing the exact same thing again. Also, I find these talks about emotional needs and emotional unavailability absolutely hilarious when none of these women have commitment from the men that they want anyway. So here's what's happening. They're giving their bodies away to men who are highly attractive and then complaining that the man won't, connect with them on an emotional level. The reason why men don't do this is because they have no reason to. And also, connecting to modern day women emotionally is a terrible idea. Like, a lot of men realize this, okay? The women just end up weaponizing it against the guy. They don't actually give a damn. I mean, the list goes on, right?
And because they're so unclear about what it is that they want, you feel so drawn to them even more because you want to be picked, you want to be chosen, and you want to, again, affirm that core belief. No, I am good enough. Look, somebody like my father or like my mother chose me. But at the end of the day, all this shows is that you have your own emotional unavailability if you continue to allow this without stepping up and setting boundaries.
Yeah, so none of these women are going to set boundaries, guys. Like, they're attracted to these men who are volatile. They're attracted to men who don't care. This is one of the biggest lies I think that men were told growing up, is that you have to be that consistent guy who provides for women. You have to be friends first and all this nonsense. And that's what gets women to like you. It's completely counter. It's completely counter to what actually works, unfortunately. And you don't even have to believe me, guys. Like, you can go out there and just listen to women talk about their dating experiences. Oh, men are a-holes, right? They're commitment phobic. They lack emotional maturity. All of this is code for we're chasing dudes who don't want us, right? We're chasing dudes who put in no effort. Now let's continue on to this clip. This was the clip that I played in the intro, probably, for this video. And this is this woman is 32 years of age. And it says, day in the life of a woman with extremely high standards. Now, whenever a woman says that she has extremely high standards, this is just code for she's insufferable to be around. Guys, it's not like, oh, she has extremely high standards and she's a nice person. That's not how this works, right? Anyone who says, day in the life of me and I have extremely high standards. I mean, do people with healthy standards need to announce that they have high standards? No, probably not. Let's jump into the video.
The life of a woman with extremely high standards. I'm 32 years old and I'm on a mission to enjoy every possible moment of my life.
So this woman is traveling to other countries to enjoy her life, saying she's abstaining from men. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I actually think she's probably going to try the local cuisine in terms of men when she goes to these places. Like, these women who travel alone, guys, you really think they're abstaining from men the whole time? No. They're going out there, they're having their fun, they're joining the dating applications, and failing to get commitment, just like they do in their home countries.
For me, that means abstaining from men and children because, in my experience, these things tend to make life a lot harder for women. Don't worry, I know this is very unattractive to most men, and it probably means that none of them will ever want me because I'm too old and undesirable to fulfill my life's purpose of helping a man continue his bloodline and legacy of porn and video game addiction.
You know, when that woman wrote that sentence, right, when she wrote her little script, she probably thought that this was the most genius thing ever. You know, she probably thought that she was just whipping up absolute poetry here. First of all, nobody says that it's women's purpose to continue the man's bloodline. Second, there are so many things that are wrong with what this woman just said. Second of all, if you have kids with a man, you're also continuing your own bloodline. Like, guys, women who behave like kids are just the sole property of the man are completely insane to me. You know, they say words like, I'm going to give him kids. Like, hello, they're your children too. Do we not acknowledge that? No, right? Because we have to view everything in the frame of the woman is the victim. She's giving everything to the man. You know, and I'll give women this, okay? Pregnancy is obviously incredibly difficult, not something that I could ever do, right? So I'll give them that. But like, they're your children too. You know, nobody is going around saying, yeah, women's purpose is to continue the male bloodline. This is what brainwashed women say. This is like, it's completely insane. Also, this woman is not unattractive to men because she's 32, okay? Yes, women find it harder to date when they are 32 years of age, but there is always going to be some guy who is still attracted to her, who's willing to have a relationship with her, right? The reason why this woman is unattractive is because her behavior is terrible. It actually has very little to do with the fact that she's 32. There's always going to be some dude, some simp who will put up with her, right? And the amount of baggage that she has. The thing that keeps this woman single is her attitude. That's the real difference, guys. There are 32-year-old women who can find a relationship at a snap of their fingers. You know, it might not be with their dream Chad, but they can still find something.
Very unattractive to most men, and it probably means that none of them will ever want me because I'm too old and undesirable to fulfill my life's purpose of helping a man continue his bloodline and legacy of porn. Video game addiction. I think this is supposed to send me into despair, but luckily it's been quite the opposite. With all my free time and free will, I decided to book a one-way business class flight to escape the Canadian winter, explore some new countries in Asia, and return to some of my favorites.
Okay, so what are we doing? We're 32 years of age. We're going traveling to random countries by ourselves. We're trying to claim that this makes us happy. I don't know, man. I don't buy this whole thing of like women who are traveling alone to miscellaneous countries. I don't think that they're truly happy. I really don't. You know, and I don't just say that to be rude or anything, but like the women who make these TikTok videos trying to convince you that they are happy and they're 32, single, no children, flying to random countries by themselves, not even with a girlfriend of theirs, you know, like they're not even going with friends. Do these women not have friends? I assume not at this point. But I just don't believe that they're happy men. I can't picture a happy man, for example, doing the same thing as this. You know, day in the life of a man with extremely high standards. You know, I'm 32, I've got no kids, no wife, and you know, and then he documents the countries he goes to because they're so happy, and he's so happy, and he books business class. It's just stupid.
I can't always afford to fly business class, but when I find a good deal, I think of all the money and time I'll save on going 50-50 with the man who does 10% of the emotional and physical labor and say, fuck it, I'm worth it.
Still, guys, after so many TikTok videos, I still don't understand what emotional labor is supposed to mean. This is, you know, women have tried to explain it to me on these TikTok videos, and it still makes no sense to me. That's because it's a nonsense term that is just used by women deliberately so that they can be incredibly vague, and while simultaneously saying that, you know, say that men do nothing. You know, men don't do anything because they don't do this particular thing, and the thing they can't even define. It's insane, right? So she doesn't, check this out, she doesn't want to go 50-50. She doesn't want to go 50-50 with a man, okay? So she's annoyed, right? She doesn't want to date one of those broke guys that requires her to go 50-50. It's like, so we don't like men, you know, and we don't want to go traveling because we don't want a man who does 50-50. I'm sorry, I thought this was all about equality, by the way, guys. Like, these people confuse me. On the one hand, they say that they want to be treated equally, but on the other side, it seems like they're very pissed off when they get treated equally. You know, when the man goes 50-50 with them, it's a problem. And they always bring up like oppression from 100 years ago, despite the fact that these women are quite literally the most privileged group of people to ever walk the face of the planet. But anyway, guys, we're going to be leaving today's episode there. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Peace.